Poirier versus Holloway 3-man was finally announced a few days ago, and it's got a lot of people chirping, and in most regards, in a not good way. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people were kind of speculating that this fight was going to be the one that we're getting, whether we liked it or not, and it's got a lot of people unhappy, man. A lot of people are saying you could have done better opponents for Dustin and Holloway individually, but this is what we're getting at the end of the day. Uncle Dana just giving us a spoonful of whatever the hell he wants. Now, don't get me wrong, I get the logic here, you know what I mean? Like, these guys do have history. It's got all the hardcores talking about, about how Max's first fight in the UFC is going to be Dustin's last, and people forget, man, it's a whole 360, and it's just like, it is a good story, and both these guys are huge fan favorites. I think the BMF Bullet is pretty overshit on. Like, I don't think it should be taken that seriously. It kind of just is what it is. Like, Bilal Muhammad, of all goddamn people, is the lineal champion, you know what I mean? And that's the BMF of the UFC, so I get why they're doing what they're doing. I can understand the logic behind it, but honestly, man, like, Dustin came out and said that he kind of wanted to aim for a Gaethje trilogy or a Poirier fight as the original two opponents, so Holloway was not his first or second choice, but it seemed like the UFC, he said, were the ones that were kind of really pushing for it. And again, like, there's market value here. These guys have history. I understand it, but I feel like the Gaethje trilogy, you could say the exact same thing about. It would be just as exciting of a fight, you know what I mean? About a similar build-up. And the Poirier fight is one that I personally have been thinking about, alright? It's one of these, like, dream random matchups. Like, y'all remember growing up and seeing, like, the Jimmy Neutron and the fucking Very Odd Parents crossover, and you're like, what the fuck am I seeing? But I love it. That's what I feel about Dustin Poirier and Ilia Topuria, dog, because it's just such a random fight, but it could have been a banger. It technically does make sense. Feel like it would have ended in a brutal knockout of whoever the fuck would have won. But no, man, we're getting this trilogy, and it's like, I feel like this is just a fight that makes a lot more sense for Holloway, you know what I mean? Hey, you know what it is, brother? You know, we'll find out July 18th, but... And I know that Holloway's coming off a loss, so I feel like he has a lot more urgency here to get into the win column, you know what I mean, and put on a statement. Not as much defend the belt, like I said, because again, Holloway's looking to get the real gold, really try and take on guys like Oliveira and Makhachev ahead of this one. I feel like for him, though, it's just a way for, it's like I said to start this off, like, Poirier is 2-0 against him. Holloway has a few more years to stick around, statements to prove, names to add to the resume, and for Poirier, he's just looking for one final knockout, one final win, one final statement to close the career. So not only is there going to be a difference in urgency here, but it's like Holloway is going to be around for years and years to come, you know what I mean? He's still in his prime, he's still young, he's like one of these guys like a Whitaker. You forget they're technically in their early mid-30s, you know what I mean? They've been just around for so long, and on top that you forget, man. People forget, man. But I don't know, man. But for Holloway, because he's gonna be around for so many years to come, like, my point with that is, like, it makes sense for him to want to fix that win, for him to make it 2-1, for him before Poirier goes away and before he's one of the few names that got to beat the big bad Holloway. It makes sense for Holloway to want to get that one and finally add it to the win side of things for his resume. You know what I mean? But I get too that this is gonna be a banger of a fight. You know, the first one, both these guys were just literal peewees in their career, and the second one was kind of like that in-between phase. It's literally like a Goku versus Vegeta kind of just phase shift, you know what I mean? Of each of the different sagas and shit. Now we're cutting here, and now we're dealing with the big bad blue, and it's just like, they're at their final goddamn stage. They're literally in both of their primes. I know that Poirier, like I said, it's his retirement fight. Usually don't get a lot of fighters in their literal prime or at their peak for their retirement fight, but Poirier looked literally as good as he ever has in his last fight against Makhachev. Granted, that was a year ago. He's been inactive since then, but I think that he's going to carry about a similar kind of athleticism and fitness and just like overall fighting shape for this fight. You know what I mean? Probably a little bit best. He'll look a little bit slower just because all things considered. I think that he's still going to be in it, but just like, you know, he just has different things to prove here, you know. And Holloway, it's too, like, there are different aspects to this fight. I think that there's a lot of things that are on Holloway's favor, or just in general. Like, my prediction, man, I think Holloway's gonna go out there, and I think that he's gonna go and get either a 4th or 5th round late TKO, and I'm not just saying that because of the Gaethje fight, I'll get to that, but a late in the fight TKO, maybe like a 3rd round, something like that, especially if the pressure is high for both guys and they're getting the fuck after it, and getting a lot of dangerous exchanges into the pocket for both guys. I think that might favor, obviously, Poirier as well with the strength advantage and the power advantage, but I think a Holloway late TKO, I see here, man, or a dominant, maybe not completely dominant, but a competitive back and forth, but ultimately, clearly their decision for Max Holloway, like a 48-47, or like one of those like competitive 49-46s, you know what I'm saying? So that's my prediction, and I mean that with all due respect to Poirier, because he does have a good chin. It's hard to finish Poirier, let alone beat the goddamn guy, because he's one of the best fighters that's never really won the undisputed belt. It's hard to beat Poirier, man. There's a reason why Poirier Poirier, whether he was facing Pee Wee Holloway or not. He was Pee Wee Poirier at the time. He's 2-0 against the guy, and Holloway that second time was still the featherweight champion of the world and still beating everybody. So Poirier looked great in his last fight. Holloway has just looked great in general. I know that he's coming off the knockout loss to Poirier, but regardless, he just knocked out Gaethje, who's a guy, and even then he 49-46'd him and knocked him out at the same damn performance, and that's a guy who you can make it a pretty competitive fight against Poirier. So if we're just comparing that similar opponent, like, you think that Holloway, after that Gaethje performance, is going to have a lot more kind of momentum and hype, especially now that he's kind of properly bulked and sized up for heavyweight standards, because in terms of the height, in terms of the reach and the frame, he fits the lightweight mold, but now he's like kind of after 300 or before 300, like kind of fully bulking up. You could argue that that kind of hurt him going down against Poirier. I think it definitely was a factor, but I don't think it was like the reason he got knocked out or anything. I think Poirier has just that amount of sheer fucking power. But at the end of the day, you want to talk about power, man. I think that Holloway's chin not only gets better at 155, or maybe at least stays the same. It could stay the same and it's still going to do wonders. I mean, only been knocked down twice, once by Gaethje and then once by Poirier, you know what I mean? Only been knocked out once and by Poirier. So I think his chin's going to be healthier. It's going to be fresh. He hasn't fought in a few months now. It's a good recovery time for Holloway, who's a relatively active fighter. And like I said, you don't know how the rust is going to affect Poirier. Like, you know, I think already the speed advantage would have been on Holloway's side in general. And, you know, I mean, he's a volume striker who knows just how to piece people up, and his speed is just fucking quick. Poirier just has more of that like stern, kind of stocky-ish build, you know what I mean? Very standard boxing style, and not so much on the volume side of things. I'd say he has more so the power advantage here, like especially with that just retirement kind of, you know, like a Robbie Lawler KO kind of thing, like to close your career, like that kind of retirement vibe. Seems like what Poirier is looking for, but at the highest level, going against like a guy who literally, whether it's the silver title or not, it is a title and a guy who's in the top 5. It's not like, who the fuck did he face? Nico Price, but you know what I'm saying. So it could be that Poirier is going to have the power advantage on his side, and his chin is good enough to hold with a lot of guys' best shots, but Holloway is just going to have the speed. He just is such a good volume striker, you know what I mean? And Poirier knows how to put on his fair share of volume as well. He has good output, but Holloway is one of the best output strikers of all fucking time, and I feel like that's going to be the difference maker here, you know what I mean? Take a shot every time Holloway points to the ground, take a shot every time that Poirier is going to fucking pull up his shorts, and you're going to be hammered by round 2, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, there's a lot of new aspects to this fight that are kind of like giving Holloway more advantages. Like, now he's sized up, now he has more experience, he has years to go in the UFC. Meanwhile, Poirier is at the very, very end of it, you know what I mean? It's like, the reason I say the very, very end so definitively, like, if he was facing Saryukian, or maybe like an up-and-comer or someone like that, like a BSD situation, and he won again, I could say that Poirier, you could argue, give him another fight after that. Maybe, I mean, I don't even want to say a title shot. Let's not even get into that. But when you're talking about these like Gaethje trilogies, Holloway trilogies, it's very like finalized. You know what I mean? It's very like, this is a guy who, we've been down this path before. It's somebody who, it's a Poirier fight was exciting in a different way for Poirier. You know what I mean? This is kind of just, you know, we're here for the storyline of it, and it's a casual's dream because, you know, both very, very recognizable names. Like, I can go up to most of my casual buddies, or all of my casual buddies that are watching the fights or know relatively anything about the fights, and they could tell you maybe like what, a few names, but I guarantee you they know who Max Holloway and Dustin goddamn Poirier are, because they have that kind of star power to them. Even with that, and like stylistically this being a great fight, like it's going to be a striking spectacle. Poirier looked defensively like very good on the ground against Makhachev. You know what I mean? We saw a lot of takedown defense improvement, and just like as the fight progressed, like Makhachev didn't have anything for him on the ground, which was great to see and very surprising to see. From Poirier, not only because it's like, oh, Poirier can't improve, like you can't see improvements from the guy. It's nothing like that. He's a vet of the game. He's been around for so long. He could still make improvements. It's just, of all people, it was against Islam Makhachev, and that's when you could argue his grappling looked at some of his finest. So I think with that, man, it's going to do him wonders anyways, but I just think stylistically, you know, I don't think it's going to do much in this fight specifically, because Holloway is not going to shoot a takedown for the fucking life of him. Holloway's just a similar situation where it's just like, yeah, he's very like good with the takedown defense and knows how to kind of defend himself well on the ground in general, but I just feel like Holloway's not going to shoot. Poirier, I doubt he's going to shoot. Maybe he has a higher chance of it, but I feel like it's a BMF title scrap, and like with that comes the pressure of, you know, oh, main event spot, BMF spot, these are the baddest motherfuckers, these are the guys we love and pay to see, they're going to go out there and scrap for 5 rounds or less, and at the end of the day, I mean, that really is what we're fucking paying or streaming or Russian Lincoln brother to see. Poirier's biggest chances of winning here, I feel like, again, looking for the knockout, but it's not like this fight can't go the distance, but like, let's come the fuck on now, man. He's a knockout artist in general. It's the BMF title. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be more so the pressure fighter here, because Holloway is really good at dictating the pace. He puts on a heavy pace as well. He knows how to drown guys and just completely move the fuck forward. But Poirier is good as that as well, man. You know what I mean? He's very good at getting into the pocket, getting guys into dangerous exchanges. Poirier is good at kind of closing the distance, getting you against the fence, making you uncomfortable, and just landing all the right combinations and just piecing you the fuck out, man. It's going to be very difficult to do that against Holloway. Like, to get Holloway on the back foot, you know what I mean? To really dictate the pace and everything. Like, only guys, like, it's like very rare to kind of just do that. Like, you see that with like a Volkanovski and shit like that, to Poirier, but like, I don't know, we're gonna have to see with Poirier, man, you know, especially kind of like a guy who, like I was saying earlier in the video, like, it's gonna be a bit of a slower Poirier, not just in general, not just comparing it to Holloway, but just in terms of where we've seen his speed prior, you know what I mean? They both got good cardio, so they could go the 5 rounds. I just think it's more so the fact, like, if Holloway wins, like, it could be a decision. I think Holloway, maybe we could see a late TKO from him, a 4th round TKO, 5th round TKO, someone like that, like maybe a late knockout from him, similar to the Gaethje vibe. I'm not even saying it's just because the Gaethje fight happened. I just think when you look at Holloway's style and how he's getting these guys like the Zombie out of there and like Gaethje out of there, like, it usually is a matter of volume and just piecing you up. And then, you know, over the later rounds, like, when he's landing these combinations, he's finding all the right shots, and the fact that it's already the 3rd round and beyond at that point, like, it's just completely, he's able to take those 2 slights out, and he could easily do the same to Poirier. He could knock out Poirier here, but I feel like the finishing ability is more so on Poirier's side just in general. Not that Holloway can't do it, but I don't know. If Holloway's going to win here, which I think he will, I think it's going to be like a 48-47 decision, maybe like a 49-46. Just something, a big statement made. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to be very competitive on the feet, back and forth. You know, maybe they'll kind of, I mean, these guys don't even really need time to figure each other out. Like, they've already fought twice. I get that. Again, like I said, Goku versus Vegeta kind of vibe. It's a somewhat different version of each other each time they fought, but at the end of the day, I feel like they know each other so well at this point. There's so much goddamn footage on each guy as well. Like, and it's like, there's no surprises here. You know what I mean? The only surprise we're going to get is how good of a fight is it going to be, man? You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're going to have somebody just walk out like the WWE and start hitting people with steel chairs like, by God, it's the Poirier! By God, it's the Poirier coming out! He's got the steel chair! Like, we're not going to see any of that bullshit, but a lot of experience in this fight, man. It matters a lot to both guys individually. From a fan's perspective, I just feel like you could have done better things, and it's going to be hard to really get genuinely, like, amped up, but it is a good fight on paper. I'm not just going to bitch and complain about it. Like, there's so much worse matchmaking they've done. There's so many worse kind of matchups they've made. Like, the fight will deliver. Could be a sick fucking finish. The casuals are going to love it, but they're really going to need to stack up the card here, man. And just with the BMF title kind of headlining a pay-per-view, maybe that leaves a little bit more room for, like, other title fights to be stacked up more so on cards. Maybe we'll get, like, double headliners now or triple headliners. That'll be sick to see, bringing that back a little bit. You know what I mean? But I don't know. They're going to have to really kind of stack this card a bit and add some depth to kind of sell it, other than just these 2 big names. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's kind of going to be it here, man. I just kind of wanted to come on here and just rant about my early predictions, my early breakdown, my just thoughts in general on the fight. You know what I mean? There's parts about it I love, there's parts about it I fucking hate, but again, not bad enough to where I'm just gonna bitch and complain about it. It is what it is, man, you know? Hey, you know, it is what it is, brother. So thank you guys so very much for making this far in the video. I really appreciate y'all a lot. All the smoke here. If you guys could help me get to 1,000 subscribers, it would mean the world. But in general, thanks so very much for making it this far. Let me know who you think's gonna win this fight. Let me know what you think of the fight. I'd love to hear it all below. So thanks so very much for making this far in the video. All the smoke here, man. Appreciate y'all a lot. I hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you all next time.